Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem amma ba'd. So today we are continuing where we left earlier. Basically speaking, we have covered much. We have covered because we talked about the biography of Imam Abu Yusuf, and then we talked about his methodology. I think that is the most important thing to understand, because the reason why he wanted to write the the magnum opus. This is the book Kitab al-Kharaj, because this is the first book written in taxation. All right. So this is something very important in Islamic history. All right. So today we are just going to talk about the overall contents of Kitab al-Kharaj. So basically, it will be very few slides left. So I will be just discussing with you, most probably looking into the slides, reading the slides, to learn that what exactly the entire book Kitab al-Kharaj covers. So as you know already, it was prepared by the order of Khalifa Harun Rashid, the Abbasid dynasty, and a judicial oriented book. As you see that the book by the name itself, Kitab al-Kharaj, you can actually translate as a book of revenues, book of taxation, or principles of taxation. But it doesn't mean that it only it is limited to the matters of taxation, but it also deals with almost all the affairs of the state. Usually speaking, today only we talk about this specialization of writing. If you are a specialist in this, expert in this area, so you will be writing something very you need to go deep and then find something and then contribute to something. But those days, of course, these are the scholars. They have everything, they learn everything, they know everything. That's why when you open the book Kitab al-Kharaj, the first few pages is actually the advice to the council. It's like a counseling the Khalifa. He will be saying, like, you are the Khalifa, and you need to be very careful when you are dealing with these kind of things. You need to focus on what exactly subject really need. I mean, what they need. So these are the counseling is actually happening in that book. And then also you will be seeing many chapters actually talking about the collecting of zakat. Right. So it's not only about purely kharaj, but it is also whatever related to kharaj. So almost all the affairs of the state. He also focused a lot on the tradition of the rightly guided Khalifa and avoided quoting the conduct or the decisions of the Byzantine, Iranian, Umayyad, and the Abbasid kings, except Khalifa Umar Abdul Aziz. So this is why this book is good, because as you know, the reason why Khalifa Harun Rashid wanted this book, because he wanted some guidance, because there were so many what do you call it, there were so many practices happening around, and especially the authority was quite confused which practice should be followed. Because you see, this is the time that the Islamic territories are expanding until they go into Sindh, the other side. It goes to the Qurtuba, the Spain, and there are so many new matters are arising. So this is where they really need a quick, and it's like a manual. They need a quick manual to to drive these issues. So then he actually wanted to have something, what exactly is the right thing. So right after the Prophet ﷺ period, what was the Khulafa ar-Rashidin there? Because you need, it's not like you only need someone comes and brainstorm and solve issues, you also need someone who has the history of learning and then knowing that what was happening in the Khulafa al-Rashidi. So for that, you really need to have uh, the um, the understanding of hadith as well, because if you don't understand hadith, you because hadith is actually is a kind of history, what Prophet ﷺ did, and then after the demise of the Prophet, what actually Sahaba were doing it. Like one example just now I gave you, like last class, what Omar was doing with Sawad land, and then why Omar did something different, and then how that uh, difference uh, gave some impact for future generation, and how the things were being adjusted. So of course without that knowledge it's not that possible. But now you can see that at the same time, there were so many practices, that was in there were so many guidelines from Byzantine, because you need to know this Byzantine, Iranian, because there is one side you have the Roman empires, the other side you have actually the Persian empires. Those are the non-Muslim empires of those days. So now it's like what we do today, because you see, when we have something and we really want to know, learn system, so what we do, whether we follow the Western system or whether we follow the Eastern system, right? So sometimes, even though we are following the British legal system or British democracy, or at the same time, China is actually very close to us, and for many years we are good with China. I mean, we don't have any issues. China never wanted to conquer this land. I mean, they always do trading. So and then they are also very close to us, if you look at the distance. So we are always very good with that. So there are so many system. We also learn from Eastern Eastern world. It's like whatever you call the China, Japan, everything. The Eastern. At the same time, most of our system, whether education system, whether it is the legal system, of course we learn from Western world. So now you understand that scenario, like learning from other countries. Similarly, it was there during Abbasid period. They were looking for some sort of guidelines, and then they were looking into Byzantine, which is the Roman Empire. The other, the one side. Then you have a you have Kisra, you have so many dynasties. The other side you have, sorry, Qaisar and Kisra. Also you have Persian, Qaisar and Kisra. So these are the things. So many learning, so many things that they got to learn, and they wanted to do in that way. But again, the right way is actually what we learn from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then the followers of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who are the rightly guided Khalifa. So that's the reason why people like Abu Yusuf, they were able to understand how Khulafa Rashidin attempted those cases, and then how much those cases are relevant today. It's not like simply avoiding, but they learn. That's why that example that I gave you last class was very perfect example of learning and understanding how Khalifa Umar did it, and then how that act is relevant to today's economy, and then how we can adjust it. He got it. He knew that. That's the reason why he brought the method of muqasama, right? So that exactly the point actually why Khalifa Harun Rashid wanted this book from Imam Abu Yusuf. Basic conception of the state, spirit of democracy, duties of the Khalifa, duties of Muslim citizens, or the exchequer or the public treasure, principles of taxation, land settlement, appointments of governors and public officers, judiciary, equal treatment in the court of law, even jail reforms and everything, because these are the new things. Prisons, reforming, prisonings, jail. So these are the things, of course, in that book you will also learn, here and there. It's not like it comes under one topic and then you learn from there, but no, it's like a narration. The book will be like a narration. You will be seeing like everything in it. Okay, what are the economic ideas? I know there are so many legal system, they are talking democracy, they are talking, so many other things, but what about the economic ideas? Of course, the Kitab al-Kharaj contains the ideas like taxation. There is a public finance, especially the agricultural production prices. This is where last time we talked about Muqazama. And then is most of his contributions lie in the field of public finance, right? How you get the revenues, the public revenues. How do you convert those public revenues into public expenditure? So this is what actually the most the highest the top contribution. Abu Yusuf dealt with taxation in his Islamic state and canons of taxation. I think the canons, actually, I talked to you about it in previously few weeks earlier. The word canon, the code of law and everything. Yeah. So of course, if someone like Adam Smith is actually talking about these canons, is similar to what Abu Yusuf was talking. But look at the timeline. Abu Yusuf is from 800 and Adam Smith is from 1700, right? So the knowledge has moved from there to there, from there to here. He also considers the land as the source of wealth. This is what Abu Yusuf considered land, the importance he was giving to the land. And then you remember when we discussing a few weeks ago, we talked about the physiocrats, because the physiocrats, the most important ideology based on land as a source of wealth. But when that thing happened after 15th century, but this is Imam Abu Yusuf talked about it in 8th century or 9th century, right? Then he made a detailed suggestion on socio-economic infrastructure and public work, and showed to meet developmental expenditures on building bridges, dams, and irrigation works. He mentioned all those things. When you're looking at those things when he talk, it's not like he talks about what is halal and what is haram. No, it's not like that. Usually we think fuqaha, they only talk about what is halal, what is haram. But this is all actually, creating ideas and then giving suggestions on how do you spend all those revenues that you have. How do you convert those revenues into building bridges, building dams, the irrigation, because irrigation is most important thing for agriculture. Right, because of that only, because Abu Yusuf understood, if you do not supply the irrigation or the pipelines or whatsoever, then the resources for agriculture, you don't have the right to ask for the taxes. You ask for the tax. Let's say if a government asking you to pay a road tax for your car, because if you have the car, you have to pay road tax starting from 100 ringgit until 1000 ringgit. You have to pay for the road tax if you have the car every single year. What if there is no road? If there is no road, why should I pay for the road tax? Right? So this is the question comes. That's the reason why they always make sure the road is good. The road is smooth, and you can actually travel at 180 or 220. Of course, you should not drive because you will get summoned. So that's why he wanted to make sure that, okay, you want to collect kharaj from the land, make sure that there is the farmers, they get all the resources to develop their agricultural sector. So economic responsibilities of the state towards economic welfare of the people water supply, fisheries, forest and pasture lands, and the ruler's duty to regard public money as a trust. Right? This is again, you know, all the resources that I was talking to you about, you know, when it comes to agriculture. As for private project, this is where something very important things I think very important thing is coming. As for private project, he said that the government should not be responsible to pay from the state treasury. You see, um, if you remember the story of Khalifa Umar and his son, right? So the son wanted to do some business, and he doesn't have a capital. So he was asking the father for the capital. The father said, "I don't have the capital because I'm not that rich." Right? Then the son didn't contact the father. Then, but he contacted someone in the authority, someone outside. I mean, of course, not I didn't mean outside the authority, outside the administration. Within the same administration of Khalifa Umar, um, he went outside. I mean, outside the city, uh, which is Medina, and then he went to another city and met someone, the authority who works under Khalifa Umar. He went there and he said, "I want to do some business, of course, a halal business, but I don't have the capital." Then the authority said, "You are the son of a Khalifa, so we trust you. Of course, we have some tax money, so please use this money, and then you return after whenever you finish your business, whenever you have your capital back, so you pay back to the treasury." So the authority, someone from the authority who took from the Baitul Mal and gave it to him. And the following year, when Khalifa Umar met the son looks, flourishing. He was like very happy. I mean, he is a happy man. I mean, he became rich. He comes with so many what do you call it, the slaves and everything, because this is how they show that they are rich. Then when Khalifa Umar learned that the son actually used the money, at the same time the son returned the money. It's not like son you took the money and then it's like someone who took the money and then run away, right? So we have people in our country took the money and running away. It's not like that. The son of Ibn Umar, the son of Khalifa Umar took the money and then used it for some business and then returned back the money to the Baitul Mal. He did already. After that only he met Omar, and then Omar found that he used that money from the treasury, and then you see what he did. He said, the money, of course, you returned, but the usifrakt, the manfa'ah that you got it from that money, it is also belong to Baitul Mal. He said that. And then he asked the authority, on what basis you gave him the money? You are not supposed to give Baitul Mal money for private project. You cannot, because this is people's money. This is people's money. This money meant for everybody. And then you want to give that money to someone because he is my son, and then of course he will return back. But whatever that he gained from that money, everything should go back to Baitul Mal. This is what actually he ordered, and then everything was given back. So now, just this one example, the government money cannot be used for the private project. Even though I agree, sometimes you may asking me, can we do business with that money and then return the profit, some of the profits back to the government, like this is like that's what happening today. It's not only happening with the government fund, it is also happening with the bank. Now you want to apply for loan, you go to the bank and then you apply and then you get the loan and then you do business and then you pay back. If it is a conventional bank, they call it interest. Of course, that is interest because they don't care about whether you win, whether you lose, whether you gain or lose. They just say this is the interest of payback. So if you go to the Islamic bank, they will say, okay, we let us make mutaraba or murabaha or musharaka. So in that way, you are going to pay the money back. You are actually going to pay the profit. So it's like, you know, it's like a venture. It's like a capital. There is a joint venture. So it is understandable. I don't have issues understanding it, but I have issues in um, purify. I mean, in understanding the capital itself. Okay, if the bank or the government giving some money to a private sector, private property owner or someone, did the government or the bank get the permission from the real owner? Let's say if the banks are giving me 1 million ringgit, definitely that 1 million ringgit is not belong to one person. That 1 million ringgit I'm taking from the bank, it belong to at least 1,000 people. So I am going to use, for example, maybe I'm using that part of 1 million ringgit is also yours because, for example, all of you kept 1,000 ringgit in the bank as a savings, or maybe like 10,000 ringgit as a saving. So it is your saving where actually banks are offering me to do business. So now, did I have your consent? So this is a big question mark in which I want you to work on it. This is a question that I'm putting to you. I'm putting to you this question. So maybe perhaps someone can actually bring this argument and debate and let us talk. I mean, there are so many things that we can talk about it. So perhaps this is one question mark I'm putting it. So please, after the class, maybe let us talk about it. All right. So this is one issue. As for private project, he said the government should not be responsible to pay from state treasury. He suggested the 4 canons of taxation in order to ease the burden of taxes on taxpayers, which anticipated Adam Smith 1,000 years later. This is all is this thing: equity, certainty, convenience, economy. These are the canons of principles of taxation. He believes in the politics of common good by eliminating oppression and establishment of justice and welfare of the people as foremost duties of the rulers. He proposed the ability to pay principle of taxation. All right. So I think this is all. There is a reflection, you know, because you see, because he also learned other countries like Byzantine, the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, some other dynasties. He also learned that, you know, they force people to pay taxes whether there is a rain or there is no rain. You know, because you know the irrigation, the water irrigation is the most important thing, the most important factor, the most important influence for any development in agriculture. But what if there is no rain for that particular year? If there is no rain, you will not get you know, the proper crops, the harvest. So then how you are supposed to pay the taxes? So now some of the dynasties like Byzantine or Persian, he learned that, you know, they were still accumulating or collecting the taxes even though you are not able to pay. But he said, but he proposed that he actually warned the Khalifa Harun Rashid, you should not, you know, collect. You have to make sure that there is an ability to pay principle of taxation, which I like. Of course, what I mean, everybody likes it, But the good part that I like it, because when it comes to, you know, paying the income tax, which actually, of course, I'm paying, right? I'm paying because I have a salary. So, but of course you are not. But you are paying in different way, which I'm paying. So when I'm paying my income tax, you know, I have that, you know, right now we have a hassle, the website, the website mytax.my. So we go there, and then there are so many things, and we look into it, and then we declare that this is our necessary, you know, necessary expenses, and then we categorize it under whatever that we pay. Let's say I'm paying for my parents and children, my wife, spouse. If my spouse is working or not working, or housewife, those, all those options are open, and then I just give my reality. I just give my honest answer to it, and then the system is generating and then telling me, okay, this is the amount you have to pay, which means ability to pay principle of taxation. So where is it coming from? So to me, even though it looks like the taxation system that we are following from the Western system, you know, but to me, of course, I agree with you, we are following the Western system, but who started it? That's my question, right? That's why, if this is the good system that you are saying, of course Muslims are the one who started it. If there is a bad system, for example, suddenly there is a GST is coming, there is a, some countries are really suffering about tax. You know, they are paying tax, too much tax, too much. You know, some countries, like, you know, without tax the country cannot go, cannot move. So you have to work, like, you know, you have to, sometimes even more than half of your salary is tax. Many countries still doing it, and you have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of you, all of us, we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are living in a country, peaceful country, where we don't pay tax that much. And remember this, first of all, we don't pay that much tax, and this is the good thing about this country, and there is a willingness of paying tax. Everybody is willing to tax, willing to pay tax. This is the reality you need to understand. The country that you are living in, even though we are not paying that much tax, but here most of the people are willing to pay tax, because they don't fight against it, or they don't cheat, or they don't, you know, because every single transaction there is a tax, and every month you have your salary is actually, your tax is deducted, and later, you know, you can actually, the government, the what do you call, the Ministry of Taxation will pay back your tax if it is too much. But also remember this, there are some countries who are able to pay tax more than what we are paying here. That's because those countries, they are earning a lot, but they refuse to pay tax. They refuse to pay tax to the government, because they learn that the government is actually abusing the money. There are many countries like that. They can pay better, and then there are some other countries. There are also some countries who actually, you know, hide what they are earning. You know, who actually buy properties in different names, who actually cheating. Cheating means, to the bottom of the code, you know, in order to hide, from income tax, or, you know, whatever the taxes are there, they are actually completely hiding, changing their name, changing their lifestyle, you know, running away from. So this is also happening. And the biggest country, I mean, the biggest uh, resources of revenue, for example, for some countries, agriculture. Some countries, agriculture is actually the biggest resource of a country. But The problem is the farmers are the one who, first of all, they don't know how to pay tax. Second of all, they are not willing to pay tax. They are not willing to pay tax. So now, so many things. And then there are so many small, medium entrepreneurs, SME. The reason why, of course, there is a pros and cons. This is all debatable issues. I just want to bring things to your attention. There are some countries where there is no supermarkets like what we have here. Most of the country, because the economy is based on the small, medium entrepreneurs, but the government cannot collect tax from those small shops, small groceries, because the government can clearly see, how much Giant can pay tax, how much Tesco can pay tax, how much, of course, there are so many supermarkets. I don't have to tell you, the names. So the thing is, there is an infrastructure that right now we have, whereby we go. These are the goods and services tax. I'm talking about the GST. All right, and then the beautiful thing about the most beautiful thing about paying tax, the last part of the page. The last part of the page, when I reach, I see there. Let's say, for example, I have to pay a few thousands as a tax. There is a column that saying that, have you paid your zakat? Have you paid zakatul fitr, sadaqatul fitr? If you have paid, just mention. Let's say I have to pay, like, for example, 3,000 or 5,000, a tax, and then I have already paid, like, for example, 2,000 or 3,000 as a zakat. The moment I write the zakat money, this is how much I paid, immediately my tax reduced, deduct. See, zakat payment is not tax exempted, it is a tax deducted. Say I spend for my family, I spend for the internet, I spend, let's say I go to hotel and then I stay in the accommodation, I pay for my flight, or these are the expenses are tax exempted. But zakat is tax deducted, meaning, let's say I have to pay 2,000 ringgit zakat, 2,000 ringgit tax, and then I paid 1,500 ringgit in zakat, immediately deducted. I have to pay the balance only 500. I have to only pay the balance of 500. See how beautiful it is. I mean, zakat is equally treated as a tax. I don't think any country do that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know whether Middle East is still following it, because I've never been getting salary from Middle East. I've been there, but I didn't go for work. So I'm not very sure how other countries are doing, especially the Muslim countries, especially the Middle East. So if you have something, you can also share with me after the class. Okay. So this is the beauty of paying tax. Ability to pay, principle of taxation. He also opposed tax farming, a practice by which a tax collector could confiscate land in case of delinquency. He opposed a fixed levy of land and suggested proportionate tax on agricultural produce, which he said was just and create greater incentives for bringing more land into cultivation and yielding larger revenue for the government. This is another topic that we can talk. Anyway, because the other scholars, upcoming scholars, like for example Abu Ubaid and other Ibn Hazm, also inshallah did the same thing. So we will be discussing those things in there, in that part. All right, when we talk about them. He also proposed the convenience in terms of time, space, and the manner of payment of the tax. To reduce the likelihood of corruption, Abu Yusuf proposed a centralized tax. This is very good. Centralized tax administration. and the use of strictly supervised salaried workers as tax collectors. Okay, if the projects benefit the entire community, our user proposed that taxpayers should not pay the expenses. He discussed about distribution of tax revenues. He also discussed various kinds of tax, including tax on commodities, death taxes, and import taxes. He also deals with topics on ghanima, fai, kharaj, jizya. But right now, it looks like ghanima, fai, kharaj, all these things look like similar to you, but don't worry. By the time, I mean, in few week time, you will be getting clear. And I think because I'm going to give you the category of public revenues, public finance, and public expenditure. All right, then you will understand exactly what it is. So he said, through war and without war, including peace treaties on the distribution of lands, purchase of Kharaj land, reviving dead land, taxation of minerals, all these things. Also, you can read from the book Reading in Islamic Economic Thought, page number 203 to 218. I also have given you many references, so please go and read from the materials. I have given it in entirety. He opposed price control, tas'ir. Tas'ir is something called price control by the rulers, as it was normal among scholars in the Islamic economic thought to free the market of hoarding, monopoly, and leave the determination of prices to the forces of supply and demand. So this is something today we are talking about what we call free market. So if you are saying this is what Adam Smith brought it, and please, now today now you know the free market. Who talks about it? Even starting from Abu Yusuf, he talked about the free market. He talked about the determination of prices to the forces of supply and demand. I think today this is the economic theory, but they already talked about it. Okay, so that's all from me. So if you have any questions, you can ask.